So she said I had to keep this sermon short. No, it is an absolute delight to be here among you all. I've been here, let's see, probably, I want to say right about a month now, a little over a month. But anyway, and I came here from Burnett, which is near Marble Falls, if you know where that is. If not, it's about an hour west-northwest of Austin on 281. Anyway, and it all started because my wife was having a conversation with her boss, who was getting ready to leave the Burnett County Auditor's office as the auditor and come be the county auditor here in Smith County. And they were talking about how much they loved working with each other, and gosh, it's too bad I can't take you with me. And then the conversation turned serious. And then we started praying about moving here, and this appointment here opened up. And anyway, we're delighted to be here. ChristPoint is a global Methodist congregation, and that means our mission is to worship passionately, love extravagantly, and witness boldly for Jesus Christ, and also to make disciples. And anyway, we've got, I've been amazed at how many activities and ministries are going on at a church this size. There's lots of different things going on, and I would say go to our website, but we've had some issues with that. So basically our website right now is just a splash page with worship times and things like that. But anyway, looking forward to kind of getting out in the community, and I've had the opportunity to connect with a few of you all already, and it's a delight to start to get to know you, and my head is being filled with so many names right now. There's a very good likelihood I'll forget and have to ask you, help me remember your name. So, but anyway, we're delighted to be here. Lindale's a wonderful community, and we've received a warm welcome. And don't tell the folks in the hill country I said this, but it's beautiful out here. It really is. I say out here. Some people would say out there, but I mean, I'll always be partial to the hill country. I was raised there in some places that everybody knows where they are now, which is Ingram, west of Kerrville. And so, you know, the Guadalupe River, when I was a teenager, that was my playground, and we just were always, you know, out there. So we were familiar with floods, but we never saw anything like what we saw recently. So let me also express a word of gratitude to everyone who did something to respond to that. I know just things poured in from all over the state and all over the country, and we're so grateful. I'm sure that there's folks in this room that were a part of providing relief and recovery that is going to be ongoing for a while. So we're grateful for that. Anyway, I just wanted to come up and say thanks for your warm welcome. And it is an absolute delight to be here among you. And I just want to encourage our continued participation in the Chamber of Commerce.
So good morning. My name is Sara Maynard, and I serve as the judge of Smith County Court at Law Number 2. So we are in the courthouse downtown in Tyler on the square, but we serve all of Smith County. And Smith County Court at Law 2 is a court of general jurisdiction. So that means we do a little bit of everything. We do criminal law, so things like DWIs, assaults, thefts. We also do family law, so divorces, child support, child custody, adoptions, and civil cases, so car wrecks, personal injury, contract disputes, anything that doesn't fall into a specialty bucket like Veterans Court falls into County Court at Law Number 2. So there's always something different going on. I think there's always something interesting happening, and we work for you. So we're on the first floor of the courthouse. We're there from Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock, and you are paying for the air conditioning downtown. I think there's usually something more interesting going on than anything on television. So I would just welcome you to come downtown anytime you would like to. There's free parking at 2 parking garages, and come see what's happening in your county court at law. You'd be welcome at any time.
So as Shelby said, my name is Gavin Rasco. I am the mayor of Lindale. I've been in this position for about 16 months. Prior to that, I did serve on council for a few years, but I have been in the Lindale area for 35 years, so no stranger to this area, and it is a place that I call home My family calls it home. It is a dear joy and treat to be a part of this community. So getting into the mayor itself, so each town has their own charter for how the mayor functions, right? So for the city of Lindale, my role as mayor is kind of just a PR role, right? And everybody said, no, not really, but yeah, it sort of kind of is. So my job is to do events like this, right? To go out and be the face of Lindale, right? Anytime there's public events or some kind of news piece that's not, I'm gonna say a tragedy, but let's call it like a serious event, right? I'll go and I'll do interviews for that. Luckily, we do not have very many of those. But that's kind of my role as mayor, right? I get to facilitate communication between the city, between the city and the citizens. That's a big part of my role. So I field a lot of emails, a lot of complaints, a lot of phone calls. Don't message me on Facebook because I'll just ignore it. Shelby knows that I'm pretty passionate about my disdain for Facebook and the anonymity, not even anonymity, but like the fact that you can say whatever you want without any accountability. That's probably a better way to say it. But anyways, so that's my job as mayor, is to kind of, again, facilitate conversations between the community and the city, let people know what's going on. I also get to drive the agenda for our city council meetings, which I'll talk about shortly. And it is an elected volunteer position. I didn't state that early on. So myself, the city council, which I keep pointing over here to Bob Tardif, who is my mayor pro tem. So myself and the council, they all serve as volunteers for these positions. So just remember that when you get out there and you're driving down what I'll talk about here in a little bit, and you're frustrated that it's not finished, we volunteer for this. So please give us a little bit of grace. But like I said, I take all the communication, I go to the city manager, Carolyn Caldwell in this instance, and so she is in charge of the day-to-day operations, right? So our city manager manages day-to-day operations, all the different departments, facilities, so on and so forth that you see that basically make our city function. And then I mentioned I drive the agenda for the council meetings, and then the council, Bob Tardif, Jordan Nance Pate, Brian Somerville, Sally Black, and Greg Kilgore, those are your 5 council members. They all vote on approving those petitions, ordinances, so on and so forth, those ideas. So they're really what drives, the growth and development of this city. And so, speaking of this city, right, I get asked a lot, what size are we? So our rough population's about 8,000. And I say that because the school population's about 34,000. And when I broaden that loop of people, if you will, that includes Hideaway, which is not a part of the city of Lindale. I do want to clarify that. So all the drama they have is not my drama. They can keep it. But, you get into the outskirts, right? So then you get into all these little outlying communities that are part of our ETJ, or the school district's the easier route to follow. And again, you get to about 33,000 people that come into the city to participate in our events like Country Fest, use our parks, go to our restaurants. And so part of the struggle that we have as a city is funding all of that, right? We've got, I'll say roughly 8,000 people. And then when you look at properties, which property taxes are another hot topic. Property taxes, we generally get down to somewhere around 2,000, right? And property taxes fund, 70% of our funds or our budget. And so we rely on these city limits and these 2,000 properties to afford to be able to do city maintenance, whether that's roads. I'm laughing because I know everyone wants to know about roads. Yeah, I know. And other maintenance within the city. So speaking of roads, because I'm sure everyone is curious, so what is going on with Highway 16? Highway 16 is a TxDOT project, and I'm not usually one to pass the buck, but I'm going to pass the buck on this one. And so all the complaints and the frustration and the timeline, while yes, we do get regular updates from TxDOT, I meet with TxDOT now once every other week. Our city staff meets with them once a week to get updates. We have had some, we'll call them significant hiccups along the way. And but that being said, it is underway, right? There's some stuff right around the corner. At this point, I'm kind of scared to give timelines, but in the next month-ish, we'll say, you will see them back downtown working on some stuff to get them out past the stadium, right? That's kind of our goal, is to get them out past the stadium right now. It is a longer project, so for those of you that don't know, when it's all said and done, it'll be 5 lanes, curb and gutter with sidewalks from 69 to Loop 49 and beyond. And I say and beyond, so the sidewalks will go down to Loop 49, and then and beyond, they're going to do some work and some extension out past the back gate of Hideaway. And so I know all the Hideaway folks, they feel that as well. Sure, I'll go for it.
So I would love to see the downtown be more vibrant. It's so sad that these businesses, the boutiques are closed, and a lot of it has been the construction, because there's no parking to get into the businesses. But is there a committee that is working on getting grants to help? I'd love to see a great restaurant, a great art gallery, something open up, but it's gotta get grants because they can't fund it on their own. I don't think businesses can go in there and maintain.
Sure. So, so that would be on. So, great question. So, right, how do we grow the downtown area? So, I get asked a lot about this, and in one of these, probably last time I had this conversation, everybody was asking me about vape shops. And so, our job as the city is to zone properties, right? So, we have planning and zoning. They go in, they zone all the properties, so it can be, let's just say, commercial or residential for conversation's sake. Once that property is zoned commercial, it's up to whomever to come in and develop it. The city has no say as long as they meet the jurisdictions or guidelines of that property. And so, to answer your question, right, the grants would be on behalf of whatever business, right? The city's not going to get involved to say, hey, I would love to have a running joke with like Chewy's, right? I'm not going to go in and I'm not going to give Chewy's money to bring them into my town, because now I, as a city, I have a vested interest in now we're illegal. And so part of that, again, to get all of these businesses to come in, encourage your friends, encourage other people to invest their money, time, and effort, right? We work with them on time in terms of getting access to the facilities, but funding a private business is not what we're in the business of. So yeah, I would love to see it downtown, right? There's a lot of efforts and work that went into making Pickers Pavilion and the cannery and all that downtown effort happen. But the reality is the businesses that need to come in are going to be driven by the community itself. I see, again, going back to Facebook, all the comments about, hey, I wish we had this. Why do we have that? Why do we get another bank, right? I'm going to address, there's not very few bankers. Thanks, Chad, for being here. Usually there's a room full of bankers. But banks come into communities that are thriving. And if we didn't have banks, that means that there wouldn't be money in here to either borrow and or lend and or save, right? So the fact that we have all these banks coming in means that we are a growing community and that there's money in this area to help grow this area. So yes, we have a lot of banks, but they're a good sign and they give a lot back to the community. So I'm not going to dog them because, one, I did used to work at a bank as an auditor. So I appreciate that aspect. But all that to say, yes, I would love to see some businesses come in, but it's going to be up to the community itself coming in and driving the growth of that downtown area. Other road construction projects, right? I mentioned 16. There'll be some stuff in the near future. Centennial, which is the road between Walmart and Lowe's. You can, if you've been down there, you'll kind of see some stuff going on, and or on Jim Hogg, you'll see some stuff going on. And what that is, extending Centennial all the way over to Jim Hogg. And that's going to hopefully create a better thoroughfare and take some of the stress off of 69 and all of that intersection to allow people to bounce over between those roads. Because if you've driven these roads during school traffic, which I have another sidebar conversation about that, you know that it's pretty busy. Let's call it 7:30 to 8:30 and 2:30 to 3:30, right? And then our other road project is Harvey Road, which is over there across from Target Distribution on I-20. That is the first intersection as part of a 70-acre development that's going in. That's going to be cornerstoned by a gas station called the Texan. The Texan is, we'll call it very similar to a Buc-ee's. They don't like that analogy, but that's the best analogy I can give you right now. It's going to be a 22,000 square foot gas station that has restaurant and a gazillion pumps and a car wash and all that stuff. So it'll be a great establishment and a great area when it's all said and done. Which leads to another question that I get asked a lot is, how come you can't tell us what's going on in Lindale? Or what's coming into Lindale? I'd tell you what's going on, but how come I can't tell you what businesses are coming into Lindale? And so part of our economic development agreements include this thing called an NDA. And I'm sure most of you know what an NDA is, but the fact of the matter remains is that we cannot disclose any information that we learn about incoming businesses until they do it or they tell us we can. And so I would love to tell everybody that we're getting all this cool stuff, but legally we can't, because if we do that, then they have every right to say, no, we're out. And then all of that work and effort that we put in just disappears. And so, a lot of the infrastructure and a lot of this road construction that you see today, yes, it is inconvenient, but it's a temporary inconvenience when you look at the long-term prosperity of Lindale. A lot of this stuff this time next year, gosh, I hope that we're not having this same conversation. God, I just jinxed myself. I have no idea about this road behind us and all the other roads that are going in. There's, I was talking to my wife about all this stuff and the comments that are made, and when we were looking at the number of people that came to Country Fest this weekend, I don't know what the final count was, but 8,000-ish, let's call it. There's a lot of folks that came into our community, and we were talking about complacency, right? And if we get complacent as a city, right, then that means we're slowly starting to die off. And all of this structure that we have going in, this infrastructure work, this growth that you see means that we want this community to continue to grow and thrive and bring new businesses in, right? A lot of, I will say, a lot of these folks that want to come in are waiting on some of this infrastructure to be done. And so us not being complacent and always looking with an eye towards the future as to what we can do today to facilitate some of this growth for tomorrow is what we're about, right? I see Tom over here. They've got a huge power plant. I say huge for Lindale. A big power plant renovation going on down Wood Springs to expand. I think how big are we going with that, Tom?
So we're gonna expand that substation into two brand new 25 megawatt transformers.
Yep.
And so instead of feeding 4 feeders out of there, we'll feed 6 feeders out of there.
Great. So and Tom's with Encore. But that's a great example of other partners coming in. They realize the growth of Lindale. They're investing in this infrastructure because they know that Lindale's going to continue to grow. And so part of our charge, my charge, the council's charge is how do we do this strategically, financially minded, and then to keep, I always hear comments about how do we keep Lindale, right? I grew up here. I understand that comment. We're going to keep Lindale as best we can, but we've got to continue to grow in a manner that allows us to do that. And so I mentioned a couple, 3 projects, a little bit about what I did, and I'm happy to answer any other questions that you guys might have about what's going on in the city.